So instead of crisis psychologists, we have used the PET. We were able to call them around the clock if there was anything, and they had always, if we had some kind of irrational fear, they had the rational fear. So we could always, from the PET, get an orientation, which was true.
The three men who were arrested for plotting to kill you, that was last year.
Yeah.
Now, were they eventually released?
Well, we have a so-called administrative legislation in this situation, where the people who are suspected of preparing terror, they can be expelled from the country.
Right.
But the fact was that some of these countries, which those men were to be expelled to, they were under suspicion for using torture against people in prison. Mm-hmm. So they are still in Denmark. Anyway, there's one who has left the country, and there's one left who is under a kind of police surveillance. He has to report to the police, I think, several, perhaps every day or 3 times a week, and so.
How did the Danish Parliament, the political leadership, other media, how did they react to what happened?
Well, of course, they were against this situation, that a cartoonist was threatened on his life. But there was, in fact, very little support. There were a very strong and immediate support from
Johan-Erik,
from
covering your mic.
Yeah, from the Danish People's Party, whose leader, Pia Kjærsgaard, called me on the phone and said if I need anything, if I need any help, she would be able to arrange something.
And this is the opposition party?
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not in government, but it's the parliamentarian basis of the government.
I see.
So they need them. Yes.
And it would be politically conservative?
It's conservative. It's a social democratic party, really, with a strong anti-immigrant slant to it,
right.
And anti-Islamic,
right.
I could say.
The Danish people, Denmark has a wonderful history, I think, of tolerance. We think of the Danish example during the Second World War. We think of one of the good guys, a country where there are freedoms enjoyed, a moderation, a civility. How did the Danish people react? I know we can't speak for all of them, but did you get a sense?
Yes, the man in the street, he was very positive. I have got very many taps on my shoulder and support. But what has also been very obviously is that my own, what I might call my own class, the intellectual, creative people, they have not supported me. They have been, I think they are what we in Denmark call cultural relativists, yes, who go in for an appeasement policy. And if we look back in Denmark's history, we have seen that there has been periods, for example, in the 30s, with appeasement policy against our big neighbor, Nazi Germany at that time. And it was of no use. We were occupied.
I want to ask you about this bit, because this is a very interesting point. In Canada, there was a great deal of support for the idea of freedom of speech, but it seems that perhaps a liberal establishment, if you like, you're being Islamophobic, you're being racist, you are, and we would point out things have been said about Christians that are far worse. Every third day there's something else. We would show cartoons from the Islamic world, quite blood-curdling depictions of Jews and Christians. They might offend us, but far worse, far more severe than anything of the cartoons about Muhammad. But the response was once again, well, the Islamic world is fighting the United States, allegedly, not according to Barack Obama, and anyone opposed to America must be on the right side, and they would bring Israel-Palestine into this, and Palestine is extremely fashionable these days on the left. So there are many people who regard themselves as being progressive and left-wing who are, not all, but many who are reluctant to stand up for people like this brave man here. Similar in Europe?
Same thing, yes. As Kurt described, what he called the intellectual class or the creative class, artists, writers, journalists. The Union of Journalists certainly did not support Kurt in any overt manner, no.
In Canada, there has been support, but... So
I mean, yes, in a formal sense they did, but no encouragement, no backup really on a moral basis. They didn't do that. Many politicians also, 22 ex-diplomats, Danish ex-diplomats, went out and condemned Kurt and
diplomats from the Islamic world.
No, Danish diplomats.
No, but who had represented Denmark in the Muslim
mostly,
world?
Yes,
yeah.
Mostly. They had sort of been gone national. I would say.
Gone native.
Right? Yeah, gone native. Yes. Yeah. So it has very much been a question of, as Kurt said, the people, the common man and woman in the street, have had the right instincts, I would say. Whereas the elite, the liberal elite, as you would call them here, seem to have lost their natural and sound instincts for freedom and for free speech. And you ask me why, and it's a very good question. I can't answer that question. You can only observe that this seems to be a fact. They seem to have chosen Muslims as their pet underdogs, or people who need to be cuddled because somehow they are not being treated well, which is also not true. Denmark treats its immigrants exceedingly well. I don't think any country in the world, perhaps with the exception of Canada, would do more for immigrants. Anyone who comes to the country is provided for, given an apartment, given a livelihood, free education, free medical services, anything you want, they get. They have the right to vote in municipal elections, even if they are not citizens. You can become a citizen after a few years if you will learn a modicum of Danish. So I don't see... and if they hate this country, so if they are so offended by it, why do they come? That's what I can't understand. And I think this sense of being betrayed by the establishment that has encouraged this immigration, I think, has sunk into the population. So we have seen that consistently around 40 to 54% or so have actively not only supported Jyllands-Posten's right to publish these cartoons, but have thought it was a good idea to do it.
40 to 50%, you say?
54%.
So the majority?
No, sorry, 45%. A majority, yes.
More to hear back in a few moments on the Michael Corens Show. We'll see you.